Hello, everyone, and welcome to Innovation Health Jam. I'm John Nasta, and today we'll be talking about patient engagement and designing healthcare.
I think the main thing is that people don't always feel like a patient. You know, even if you have a very serious illness that is consuming your life, 99% of your time really is not in front of the doctor. It's not in the hospital, that kind of thing. So to approach it with medicalizing people and to cast an image on themselves that they may not adopt, or they may not feel that they are a patient. They feel like they are Kyra or whatever their first name is, and that means a lot of other things. They might be a gardener, they might be an athlete, they might be a grandmother, they might be all kinds of things that in their head is much stronger and more resonant. And so all communications, all products, all kinds of approaches with engagement have to fit that self-concept first and foremost.
And so the ability, like many other industries, to align incentives and rewards to the behaviors you want them to take. You know, if you think about other industries, they're really expert, whether it's credit cards, airlines, even your local coffee shop, about aligning you to the right types of behaviors. So take something as complicated as healthcare, which most people have a difficult time, manipulating through, just trying to understand where they're supposed to go and the condition that they have. Personalizing those incentives, making those incentives relevant. A simple example is, in the e-prescribing world, if you give a physician that makes $250,000 a year a $50 incentive for activating their e-prescribing account, and you give that same $50 to a $35,000 a year nurse administrator, you'll get a completely different result. Really, within healthcare, it's one of the few industries where we ask people to change their behavior without giving them incentives and rewards. So I think that's pretty foundational to this kind of personalized, consumer-centric approach.
As providers get paid for value in whether we call it accountable care, bundled payments, pay for performance, they will be on the financial hook for delivering outcomes. You can't do that without what Kyra talked about, which is co-creating health between providers and patients as a team. And when we think about the team on the provider side, the physician, especially the primary care doctor, can't scale fast enough to provide that level of care, intimate care, with patients. So she, like Kyra, will be working with nutritionists, diabetes educators, podiatrists, dentists, and behavioral medicine specialists especially. We have to get more mental health into primary care so that people can take on this mantle of self-care. As our colleague Leonard Kish wrote about a year and a half ago, an engaged patient is the blockbuster drug of this century.
What's exciting is that when the consumer has the data and they're in charge of their own tracking, we can start to see some of the offline things that are going on in terms of treatments that may be effective. Also, when the data is in the hands of the consumer, they can share it freely. I think one thing that's actually a barrier to the collaboration, the co-creation that we're all sort of talking about is actually HIPAA and how the industry handles HIPAA. I think HIPAA is often a barrier to innovation. The P in HIPAA stands for portability, but in fact quite the opposite is true as organizations face how to let people share their information and collaborate around their care. And in terms of fight or flight, it's flight. It's let's not deal with it, let's not enable sharing.
The right incentive at the right time, initial diagnosis, chronic care, old, young. As I build out this matrix, it's getting really complicated to me. Well, one thing I've learned is that this discussion is robust and there are a lot of important issues. And for sure, Innovation Health Jam has begun today with our discussion, and we look forward to a vigorous and engaged discussion by our panelists and all of our participants. Thank you again for participating.